one guest is worse than the next on this show. It's a parade of failures and half-wits. And the biggest name we've had on the show was a guy who saw both Dune movies twice. It's the biggest guest we got until tonight. That streak is over. We have a 5-star top shelf. We have Fred Armisen's here. Fred, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
It's so nice to see
Someone
you.
who saw Dune twice, each one twice. Is Dune, is it named that because of is DU for duo? Like, are they both double movies?
They should have been Duo,
yeah.
like the Hot Shots part.
Yeah, part duo.
Remember when there was just all those movies were just like parody? There was just like,
yeah.
it was there was just an endless amount of these movies where it's just like, scary movie, not another teen movie.
Right away.
Yeah.
Like within a year or two.
But they're gone now.
That's
right?
gone.
They don't make them anymore. I think they're making a new scary movie, actually.
But that's almost like it's a continuation of that.
Of an established thing.
Oh, yeah.
Like, why is there not...
Like, what's a recent movie that's like, why isn't there like immediately a new...
Like, what if we did
Hereditary 2.
Not another Ari Aster movie.
Yeah.
What if we just make it that? Yeah, what if we just start doing like indie ones? Not another Duplass Brothers movie. It's just the puffy chair. No, it's... But they're gone. Were you ever in any of those?
No.
Nope. Because they would get people to just do like one day on a thing. And then it's just like, because it was like
I missed that wave of whatever that was. But yeah.
I'm not going to say, look, if you're there, it's a quality game. But the way they were casting those things is
I know how you mean it. I know how you mean it.
It's not just like...
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes...
it's not to say I wouldn't have done... I would have done it easily. I guess I did Zoolander 2.
But I think that's still like a scripted thing, yeah. Zoolander 2, and we're waiting for that third one, guys.
Yeah.
I don't know where the franchise ends. The Zoolander story.
Maybe everything is just a franchise in general. Like, maybe we assume that like any movie that comes out, it's part of a franchise.
Yeah, just like a franchise of one sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes it's just like, it's like one episode of
it's IP that didn't go any further.
Yeah, that really just
like, when's the Nora 2 coming out?
Yeah.
Like, now, Fred, you have been very busy lately. Saturday Night Live, 50 years. Now, you were there for 11 of those 50.
Yeah, that's right.
So there's 39 years that are unaccountable for you. Well, you've hosted.
Yeah.
How many times have you hosted?
Once.
You hosted once.
Yeah.
That's 12 years.
Yep.
You've been properly, like, in the credits.
Yeah.
You've done plenty of pop-ins.
Plenty.
What was this last bunch of months like with all this stuff?
It was a lot of... being told it was being planned. So to like, we're working on it. There's the music portion of it. There's the regular part. We're working on it. And
were they all independent of each other?
Kind of.
Okay.
In a way.
So you've got people you've got a Questlove knocking on your door for the music part of it.
And they were also making, in the last year, documentaries related to it. A documentary about the audition process, about the musical guests. So there was just a lot, which was a nice thing that they were like, get ready, make sure that February is clear.
Yes.
And I was happily like, sure. And then as the months started gearing up, then there'd be more details. Oh, looks like so-and-so is going to play a song. Looks like, I think this person's going to be there, which is kind of exciting. And it's more like they also didn't know for sure. Like, I think we might get this guest or whatever. And then it just sort of, built on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that show at Radio City was insane how deep it was with people.
Yeah.
And like, because you drummed with Devo.
Yeah.
Like, well, right there. That's like enough for you to be just like, I'm done.
I even thought that when they asked me to play, I really thought for the whole weekend, I was at peace not doing anything. Just because, meaning there's so many cast members and stuff.
Yeah.
It was a big enough show that I was like, I'll be happy to sit in the audience. And then when Devo asked me to play, I thought, if I play with Devo and that's all I do, I'm good. And I really mean it. I was like, I'm represented, and I get to play with this band who, like, I feel like whenever I talk to you, I don't even need to explain how much, not just I love, but how we love Devo.
Well, that's the thing, is like we came up in the same scene, basically, the same music, because for me it was two parallel streams, music and comedy. I loved both equally. Unlike you, I realized the music side was not I could be a fan of music, but I could not make music. It's just not, I just don't have that in me. So I just leaned into the other thing in terms of what I could participate in, but I could always love music, and that never stopped. What were some of the first records you remember actually buying with your own money?
With my own money. So so we've got to, like, we'll make a line through, like, when my parents,
like these inherited records that kind of float into your collection,
or like, Christmas presents and birthday presents and all that stuff. So, and those I think are the same for everybody. It's like Beatle records, and
you get either the red Beatles album or the blue and the double album with the greatest hits. Where
isn't that funny? Like, what an entryway into the Beatles those two albums are.
Those two. There was the red one was the early half, and the blue was the later half.
And they probably signed off on those thinking, oh, whatever, let's just get these out, and it's contractual. And then to our whole generation, we're like, no, that was our.
No, that's literally the Beatles.
Yeah. The first two records I got them on the same day, were End of the Century by the Ramones.
Sure.
So I was late in the game. I'm just also because I was, like, too young at the time to really have known the Ramones. And then Blondie, E to the Beat.
Okay.
Both of those were because of FM rock radio. And on Long Island or in the New York area, they were playing rock and roll radio, or maybe Baby I Love You.
Like, do you remember rock and roll radio was like one of the few, if not only, Ramones songs to kind of permeate the because it wasn't classic rock, it was just rock radio then.
And they'd play, they'd also play, the Who or whatever, but then, like, they'd throw in the Ramones and then Blondie too, and then Blondie I saw on SNL, and so that was such a
that just did it. Yeah.
So those are the first two, and then it kept going from there.
Yeah, I remember when I got. It's funny. I have very similar because Are
we the same age? I think we might be similar.
I'm 79.
79. You're 79.
No, we both got fives hanging on our age.
I'm 58.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm 2 years younger than you.
Hey, you kid. You don't even know the world.
I'm figuring it out, Fred. These things are new to me. I remember buying, I was lucky. Weirdly enough, I got a jump on buying records. I started buying them when I was 9. I started buying albums. I remember buying Labor of Lust, Niccolo, Armed Forces were two of the ones I bought just like flat out with my own money.
And how did you get that money? Paper route or something?
Yeah, I did 2 different times I had paper routes. One was like more like the afternoon paper you would do after school, and the other one was like the morning paper, that was like hell on earth.
Yeah.
But I remember when I got Parallel Lines, the Blondie album, there was a sticker on it that said featuring the uncensored version of Heart of Glass.
Okay.
And I was like, oh no, I'm gonna get in trouble with this. Like, what does that mean? And I was just like hiding the sticker from my parents. Like when I'm at the whatever store it was, Two Guys or something like that, buying these records. And I was like, what does this, like, I just don't want them to think I have.
Yeah.
And then it had the song is Soon Turns Out was a pain in the ass. And I just thought that was like, I was like, soon turns out, turn it down and then turn it back up.
Yeah.
But those Steve Martin albums, yikes, I had to hide those.
Did he? I guess there was a little.
It was like, like the story where he's just talking about like the F word gets used and things. They were just like a little edgy for a kid.
So you bought comedy albums?
Yeah, I was buying them all. I remember buying that Steve Martin Brothers album where it was like
Wow.
one side is comedy and the other side is banjo, and I was
That's
just
right.
kind of like, I think I will never listen to this other side. Like the one side was probably worn out,
Yeah.
and then the other side was just pristine because I was just, oh, this is just banjo playing. I'm okay here.
But that's funny that you really went to the record store and went to the comedy section.
I would go to the library, read issues of Rolling Stone, and just remember stuff and be so caught up on it with the music stuff. But the comedy side, that was SNL, and that was like what's the first episode of SNL you remember watching?
I remember I'd sleep over at my friend David's house, and his older brothers liked it. So, this might be 79 or so, and I don't remember who hosted, but like Mr. Bill would come on.
Okay.
That was like my earliest memory.
Yeah.
Like, this is, it was like, that almost felt like we're about to get in trouble. Like, we're watching this thing, Mr. Bill. And I remember seeing the specials on. That was also, I think, might have been actually 80.
80. I thought one of the most exciting performances I've ever seen is the specials doing gangsters on SNL.
My favorite music performance of anything on TV ever.
It's unbelievable. If anybody it gets pulled from YouTube pretty
Always.
frequently.
Yeah.
But people have it, like, if you poke around, you can find it. Somebody has like a
it's
Vimeo thing or whatever.
Something about it is just the way that just everything about it.
The stage was so small.
Yeah, and there's so many of them.
There's so many of them, and they are bouncing up and down.
Yeah.
So it was this thing. It's like, first of all, they just come out with machine guns.
Yeah.
Like, just right off the top. It's like the first thing you see are two guys holding
those Tommy gun
holding
things.
these like plastic machine guns.
Yeah.
And then the song starts, and they're just everybody's just going for it.
Yeah.
No, that's like electric. Like, I can't.
And it's not even like the going for it of like distorted guitars. It's actually, they're like really neat, and they have these like their buttons are all buttoned up, and the drummer's like sitting up straight, and Terry Hall. It just like
Unbelievable. Yeah.
It's so good. And even like a Tommy gun as a prop is underrated. I'm like, that is such a great idea.
It was so cool, and they were also, it was like, because it was like the specials were just like everything at once. Like, people say, oh, ska, but it's like,
no,
it
were
was
everything,
literally everything.
I remember they were played on WPLJ also in the mix of all that stuff, and then I saw the B-52s on SNL.
That's a huge one.
And that was like that was actually a shift in what I thought was possible,
because now it's like art.
Yeah.
This is like art is happening with like, look, I'm a kid, I'm reading about the Beatles.
Yeah.
Like, I'm being told that like Yoko Ono sucks in these articles and things, and just the attitude of things in like Cream magazine or whatever.
Yeah.
But then you start to like hear things like that, and it just made my brain ready to hear Yoko Ono.
Yes, exactly.
And I'm just like, oh, I know. When I finally hear Yoko Ono, I'm like, I know what this is.
Totally.
Yeah, and she influenced them.
Yeah.
Like, just mind-blowing how you can get led down the wrong path with that stuff. Like,
I think
by bad rock writing.
Bad rock writing for sure. And then bad writing on TV shows about fictional rock bands. So like a rock band would be on whatever, The Love Boat or just in a movie, and it'd be like a lot of sort of long-haired people like, hey man, the cliche of what rock looked like.
Yeah.
That also like made it all worse. Or better for us that that when we saw the B-52s, it was like I like that it broke whatever that was.
Yeah, like you would see these TV shows would work in like there's an episode of Chips with like a hard rock band, and it's like Kiss type.
Yes.
And the lead singer of the band is Donnie Most from Happy Days.
Yeah.
Just like doing a part where he's just like, I'm tired of being Ralph Mouth.
Yeah.
I get to be this
rock star.
I'm going to be this rock star for this. And you watch it and you're just like, this is insane that this was, that people wrote this and filmed it. It's so, like, it couldn't miss the target more.
No. I wonder who they were going for. I remember on The Love Boat, they did a Kiss type of band, and Sonny Bono was the lead singer.
46-year-old Sonny Bono
Yeah.
just fronting a Kiss type band.
Yeah.
No, it really. Here's one thing I wanted to ask you also. Well, I want to ask you a bunch of things. You look at how music is consumed now and perceived now. It's like it was so segmented when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And it was like, if you like this, like you can't like that.
Yep.
It was just like pick your team
Yep.
and you cannot waver from that. Like you were like you had to like either you could like The Clash or you could like Led Zeppelin.
It could not mix.
You could not, like you were supposed to pick, like truly you were being told these two do not fit together.
Why did we do that to ourselves? That's the weird part. I feel like, did we do that, or did I don't remember anyone on any record cover going like, hey, make sure not to listen to Van Halen. But
yeah, it was so weird though. It was like, I mean, I remember, again, I mentioned Cream magazine, which
no, that was like more than Rolling Stone, really.
way more, because Cream had like
some humor.
and it was funny and it had like a real attitude to it. Rolling Stone was already respectable by that point.
Yeah.
But Cream would be like, the letters section would be just like some guy writing just like, The Clash suck. And it's just like, and it'd be like, Led Zeppelin or the worst. Like people just fighting. And then, but now, like people younger than we are, it's just music.
Yeah. And also it's almost like now that we're older and that we see these actual band members, they're all hanging out with each other. They all comment on each other's posts and stuff. They're all, and I'm like, of course they are. Like, what made me think that they were like enemies with each other?
I know, like,
And I think I read that like Joe Strummer and someone from the Grateful Dead were friends.
Yeah.
That they hung out all the time. I'm like, of course they did. Why wouldn't
not?
they? But what at the time I would have been like, no, I'm sure that they hate each other.
Yeah, it'd be like, well, he's just gonna, he's tricking him and he's gonna clearly push him off a roof or something because he's a punk.
Yeah.
I remember even like seeing when these 80s revival tours where it was like, oh, the Go-Go's are doing shows with Howard Jones.
Yes.
And I'm like, well, that can't. And I was way too old to overreact to it. I was like, well, he doesn't fit with the Go-Go's.
And they're like, of course
they're like,
it does.
we made music in the same era.
Yeah.
That's why we're doing
all
this
good.
together. Yeah. It was, I don't know any other version of it though. Like, of like picking sides, but I didn't also. I was like so quiet and like I had In Through the Outdoor and I had London Calling and
so did I.
But it just didn't.
But at school, I just didn't like. I didn't have Van Halen on my jacket.
Sure,
it was more like that. Like publicly in school, like you're a certain way, but then like I think there are also those bands who were sort of exempt. So Beatles, everyone loved the Beatles. The Who, I feel like, and the Kinks and all those bands. I'm like, no matter what, Bowie, and then I think Queen, maybe everyone was like,
I think to a point maybe, but like the first batch, the '60s bands got a pass with.
They got
everybody.
a pass, yeah.
But man,
I love it.
We'll allow it.
Yeah.
Like, Kinks record, okay.
Damn, I wish we had a sketch show because I do want to. Now I want that to be a court scene.
Of just
a teenage court scene of like, we'll allow it. There was a lot of we'll allow it.
1981.
Yeah,
court.
1981 court, where it's like a lot of Paul McCartney stuff, and I'm like, well, okay, yes, that.
Because this is another thing that might be lost to time is if you like things that were not considered tough guy music, like the Scorpions or Van Halen or stuff like that.
That you're saying is tough guy music.
Yeah, just like hard rock.
Yeah.
AC/DC, which I love all that stuff. But if you went to school, like high school, and anybody knew you liked this stuff, somebody would go, "Hey, Devo," and punch you.
But I embraced it. I was like, I embraced that I was whatever that was.
Yeah.
That whatever they call that. On Long Island, they were pretty harsh about it. Like, it's so, this is going to make no sense.
Okay.
But a lot of those tough
What if you
guys.
just started going? So a lot of the tough guys.
They were also. Now I realize that they were also retro because they were like the Doors,
Yeah.
and the Doors were already long gone by
Jim
then.
Morrison's dead for 12
But for
years.
some reason, though, that was like they liked Kansas, the Doors, Rush. There was like their,
Yeah, that was their hierarchy.
yeah. But anyway, they disliked all the stuff that me and my friends liked.
I remember a kid. I went to, was it Pier 60? What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait.
Pier 64? I'm so bad at the number on it.
Do you mean this? You went to go see those shows?
I went to see shows that were on the pier on the west.
Pier 48.
Pier 48, yeah. New York on the West Side Highway. There was a pier that had a stage. And,
Dr. Pepper Music Festival.
And bands would play.
Yeah.
I went and saw Madness,
Gotcha.
and I came to school the next day with my Madness shirt on.
Yeah.
And this one kid goes, that drummer in Madness is just like, his drum set's so small.
Yeah.
He was like, it's like a bass drum, a snare, and two cymbals. It's like Neil Peart's drum set's huge. But he was like seriously, it was like the size of the drum set meant it's like, well, the guy in Madness could buy more drums, I guess, and put the biggest drums together and still just use.
But that's still kind. He sounded like he was still engaging with you.
Oh, he was making fun of it. He was saying he was saying this is why Madness suck, is because the guy's drum set is small.
I had a similar conversation just in general where someone was talking about Rush.
Yeah.
And I was talking about the B-52s, and I remember him going, "You're going to tell me with a straight face that the drummer of the B-52 is better than Neil Peart?"
It's as if
that was like that was the big discussion.